Hello Substreamers and welcome back to Substream News. I'm going to jump right into our first story, but I should be quiet about it because ChatGPT might be watching and listening. That's because of their latest update. Let me explain. Yes, a considerable new update on ChatGPT allows it to watch you and study you and provide you feedback in real time. Yes, OpenAI have just announced these new capabilities. They've been long promised for video. Now, all you have to do, if you are part of the paid membership, is turn your camera on through the app and let it do its thing. Now, previously, you probably know you could input text, charts, voice, and still photos and get feedback and responses from it. Well, now you can do video too. For instance, in my tests, this mode was able to solve math problems, give food recipes, tell stories, and even turn itself into my best friend, which is kind of spooky. While cooking, it was able to give suggestions and even recipe ideas and encouragement and even some games. So it's really doing some pretty cool stuff. Now, I have to tell you, only Plus, Team, and Pro subscribers can access what OpenAI is calling Advanced Voice Mode with Vision. Not a very catchy name. I think their product manager could do something better. If you weren't aware, the Plus subscription is $20 a month and the Pro tier is $200 a month. It's in the same part of the app or the browser interface or whatever as Advanced Voice. That's where you'll find it. Yeah, you can interact with the chatbot in real time. Now, I don't want this to sound like a product pitch, but if you are a paid member, you might as well try it. And if you're not a paid member, you should probably try Claude because Claude is far superior to ChatGPT in my opinion. What do you think? Is this a useful update or a gimmick? I think this could be the future actually, and especially when you consider, as we covered in a previous video, Apple introducing like new home devices, the size of two iPhone screens. These interactive AI home helper systems, if they can watch what you're doing in real time and give you information based on that, that is really helpful. But I also think it's a bit invasive. So for me, I won't be investing. Not my cup of tea. Let's move on. So that latest news, pretty good for OpenAI, and I'm sure their stocks responded positively, but they probably didn't respond too positively to the very sad news that Sushir Balaji, a 26-year-old ex-employee of OpenAI, was found dead from an apparent suicide. Now, Sushir has a reputation as a whistleblower. He actually revealed that, or alleged, that the company was unethically using data, stolen data or scraped data for the artificial intelligence platform. He worked there for almost 4 years, so he was a real valuable part of the team and will be missed. He also alleged that in order to create OpenAI's transcription software, they harvested data from YouTube, which they shouldn't do. I'm going to read you a couple of quotes from Sushir before his untimely death. He said, "I initially didn't know much about copyright, fair use, etc., but became curious after seeing all the lawsuits filed against Gen AI companies. When I tried to understand the issue better, I eventually came to the conclusion that fair use seems like a pretty implausible defense for a lot of generative AI products, for the basic reason that they can create substitutes that compete with the data they are trained on." Well, what did OpenAI say in response? They put out a statement that said, "We are devastated to learn of this incredibly sad news today, and our hearts go out to Sushir's loved ones during this difficult time." So rest in peace, Sushir, and good job for exposing the company and keeping them transparent and accountable for what they're doing. There are many claims being made against Gen AI, and although they can transform the world with their technology, they should do it with integrity. Remember that. Let's move on. Oh, speaking of ultra-powerful, world-transforming, earth-shattering technologies, Google Willow. Now, if this hasn't come across your news stream or your information feed this week, you're going to love it, or perhaps fear it. Google says that its new chip, Willow, pretty cute name, better than OpenAI's product naming team, performed a standard benchmark computation in under 5 minutes that would take one of today's fastest supercomputers 10 septillion years. That's a lot of zeros. That's actually so many zeros. Well, this information comes from a blog by Hartmut Neven. He is the founder and lead of Google Quantum AI. They're building supercomputer chips. He says 10 septillion years is, of course, a number that vastly exceeds the age of the universe. So Google Willow really is incredible. And he says that this mind-boggling number, I like that, is beyond comprehensible timescales, and it lends, this is a direct quote, lends credence to the notion that quantum computation occurs in many parallel universes, in line with the idea that we live in a multiverse, a prediction first made by David Deutsch. That's pretty cool. Do you think we live in a multiverse? I'm not sure, but it could be. So Neven says that when he founded Google Quantum AI back in 2012, the vision was to build a useful, large-scale quantum computer that could harness quantum mechanics, the operating system of nature to the extent we know it today, to benefit society by advancing scientific discovery, developing helpful applications, and tackling some of society's greatest challenges. Now, I think with Willow putting all other supercomputers to absolute shame, the path forward is for commercially relevant applications is just going to be so much faster. The better the chips, the more we can do faster and I guess with more precision. So this is a really exciting development, but it does help monopolize power for Google, which, as we've covered in other videos, is a problem. They have too much power, data, and influence. Anyway, let's move on because Google own YouTube and I don't want them to punish me. Let's rewind to that last story. There was a few words I said there. The operating system of nature, right? That's quantum mechanics. But it's also the fundamental idea of a new subsector of AI called AI world models. Now, these are really interesting. I really like the idea. It's world simulators, and they could be the next big thing in AI. In fact, an AI pioneer called Fei Li, he has this company called World Labs, and they've already raised 230 million US dollars to build these large world models. They've hired one of the creators of Sora and DeepMind to help build this. So let me tell you, what are these world simulators or AI world systems? These world models take inspiration from the mental models of the world that humans develop naturally. Right? This is one of the barriers between AI and humans, is that they don't see and think like we do. But one day they will be able to, and they'll do it instinctively. So the human brain takes abstract representations from our senses and form them into like collective ideas for a concrete understanding of the world around us. Now, that's super interesting, but we do it naturally. You can call them models or schemas or whatever you like, but we do them instinctively based on all of our senses. AI can't quite do that yet. So these predictions make our brains perceive the world in unique ways, but still in a cohesive way among humans, right? We can kind of see the world in our own ways, but it's still on a similar wavelength, right? AI will get there with time. Now, a paper from AI researchers, they're called David Ha and Jürgen Schmidhuber, give an example of a baseball batter. Right? So batters have milliseconds to decide how to swing their bat. That is actually shorter than the time it takes for visual signals to reach the brain. So how do they do it? How do they actually connect with the ball? Well, the reason they're able to hit a 100-mile-per-hour baseball, a fast ball, is because they can instinctively predict where the ball is going to go from what they see and from experience, right? AI again, can't do that. But a generative model trained on years of video might actually be able to predict the baseball's velocity and curve to react appropriately, but it still wouldn't know why. Just like language models, they don't really understand the concepts between words and phrases. They're regurgitating based on code. But a world model with a basic grasp of the baseball and how it interacts with the world and dynamics and gravity and air resistance and things like that, it would be able to perhaps even be better than humans and reach AGI with time. Okay, so yeah, world models are training based on huge sets of data like photo, audio, video, text, and so much more. And the intention here is to create internal representations of how the world works and like an ability to form reason about the consequences of our actions, which again, something AI doesn't really have. I think that's really interesting stuff. I hope you agree. Of course, there's so much more. I've talked for a few minutes about this, but there's so much more to be read on this subject about AI world systems. So if there's a new topic to you, I encourage you, really encourage you to go and look more, because it could be the next new thing and could be your next investment. It could be something you decide to learn to contribute to and become a hobby or interest or even a career path. So yeah, go and search that if you're interested. You can start by going down to the video description for this video and finding the link to all of our sources. We are good, responsible journalists. We always share our sources. While you're down there, if you're not yet subscribed, it takes a millisecond, faster than a baseball flying at you to click. Okay, let's move on to the next story. Let's go. So you've made it to the lighter note. After a highly attentive and perhaps invasive ChatGPT upgrade, a tragic whistleblower suicide, the most powerful computer chip of all time, and the introduction of AI world models, which I hope was new information to you, it's time for our lighter note. Of course, we like to end with something gentle. So how about mind control and telepathy? That seems like a nice, gentle way to end. Kind of, I suppose. Muscle implants could allow mind-controlled prosthetics to operate with no brain surgery needed. This is the latest innovation in the prosthetic industry, and it comes from a startup called Phantom Neuro. They are promising to give amputees more accurate control of electronic prosthetics using their minds. Epic, right? Come on, what's not epic about that? So what is it? How does it work? If it's not a brain chip, it's actually a thin, flexible muscle implant that allows amputees like a wider, more natural range of movements just by thinking about the gestures they want to make. And it does that by, let's say, for a hand or arm prosthetic, it reads the nerves movements from the muscle layer. So even if you don't have an arm, if you were to do that with your non-arm, your upper arm and bicep would still move, right? It would still make those connections from the brain. They just wouldn't get to the hand as there isn't a hand, right? So on the stub, it can read that information. Of course, they've tested it and they've done studies, and I think this is really interesting. I want to tell you a bit about the data. They performed a wearable study with 1 amputee and 9 able-bodied individuals. They had a training session on day 1 and ran the test on day 2, performing 11 different gestures such as an open hand, closed fist, pinch, other things like that. They had to do these over and over and over. Now, for the 9 able-bodied individuals, this meant that the prosthetic hand was simply mimicking them. But for Alex Smith, who's been a very involved participant, and he's an amputee, he's been working with Phantom Neuro, he only had to think and imagine he was doing those actions. And he says it was the coolest experience. So the results came in from the test and found a 93.8% accuracy rate when using these wearable sensors. Wow, that's a huge step forward for prosthetics. So anyone watching this who may be an amputee, the future's looking bright for you. There could be more options in the future, and better, more responsive ones, perhaps even more comfortable. Anyway, that's it for this week. I'm here at the office. I need to get some work done. I'm Joseph, your presenter. This is Substream News. Thank you for tuning in and listening to me ramble. I'll see you next time for another video. Have a great week. Bye for now.